Hey, welcome to episode 8 of The Hills Have Nerds. Today we're going to talk to you about something fantastic. But first, we got to get through this line for Lorcana. I've been camped out for 6 days.
My kids miss me.
They promised me they had some. Aaron's been begging for pennies. How's it going, Aaron?
I've got one.
Got one? 24 more. And we can trade something to the guy behind us for half a Twix bar. Today's episode's about friendly local game stores and the wondrous hobbies that they enable for us. Like Lorcana, which you can't find anywhere. And if you've had to fist fight anybody lately for a box of cards that might have a Mickey Mouse in it, just know that we support you in this endeavor.
But not the company.
I'm Josh, and I'm joined as always by
Aaron
And Cody. Lee.
And today we're joined by a very special guest,
Nathan.
Nathan has almost 25 years of experience running FLGSs.
They're about.
Nathan ran stores when he came out of the womb. I'm pretty sure.
And for those,
He also had his beard.
He came out with a bullwhip and started running at the stores and whoosh, whoosh.
whip them and shake 'em. Travis, put the rawhide theme in there right now. Moving. Hopefully, Travis just put the rawhide theme in there, and you can enjoy that like we did.
There's going to be an awkward pause.
Yeah, knowing Travis.
That's hilarious.
So today we're talking about FLGSs, and what that stands for is friendly local game stores. Those are the places you go to, again, to satisfy your fixes. You're going to go buy your Pokemon cards there. You may get some board games. You may go down for Friday Night Magic. You may go down for Saturday morning Yu-Gi-Oh! You may go down to just, stare inside in awe at the things that you wish you could buy, but you can't. And if that's the case, then I'm sorry, Oliver Twist. I'm sorry for everything horrible that's happened to you.
That's what I do. I just go look at the board games I can't find.
Wander around.
I'm just going to find that dark corner and stand in it like at home.
I go to visit the
Slowly
blue.
like it, Cody.
We've got you around in the chair, right?
Kinda. I've not turned the TV on yet.
Okay, we're getting there closely. For that callback, go back to some of the earlier episodes when we figure out what Cody does in his free time, and we all get a little bit sadder. No, but today we're talking about FLGSs and what goes into that, and we're lucky enough to have a very good friend of the show, Nathan, here to help us out. And but first, as we always do, what are we playing? What are we watching? What are we reading? Nathan, you're new here. What nerd media are you consuming right now?
Primarily recently, Marvel Champions content.
Oh yeah.
Particularly on YouTube. Nelson Oliver cards, Villain Theory, Step into the Portal, Marvel Champions XP, a few of those. So that's probably what I've done the most recently. Also, I've watched on the video game front some of VideoWorks with Jeremy Parrish, where he's going chronologically through various consoles and games released. It started with Nintendo, with the original Nintendo Entertainment System, which is what got me hooked on it. But he has also branched into, he may have not started with that. That's what I started with. Now that I'm saying it, I think he actually started with Game Boy. I think it was Game Boy Works first.
Now, who is this?
It's Jeremy Parrish.
And what does he do?
It's on a channel on YouTube. It was just called Jeremy Parrish, but I think it is now called VideoWorks.
Okay, he's just going chronologically through
Yes, through different things, going in depth. Some episodes are about a single game. Some episodes are about 2 or 3 games. A typical episode covers 2 games. He has done NES, Game Boy. He's done some for Super Nintendo, some for Nintendo 64. He is currently trying to get Sega Master System caught up with NES, since they were contemporaries. But, I don't know about you guys, but did you ever see or hear of a Master System until you were an adult?
No.
I didn't know that was a thing until
just now. Yeah.
Just now.
Yes.
What the hell is a Sega Master System?
It was Sega's 8-bit predecessor to the Sega Genesis, which most people know about the Genesis because of the war with the Super Nintendo.
So this is before the Genesis.
Yes.
Okay.
It was a contemporary for the NES.
Oh, okay.
It was Sega's Nintendo. It was and we say Nintendo.
Obviously, it wasn't
Meaning
quite
NES.
Sega's Nintendo because nobody knew what the hell it was until
Yeah.
just now.
Yeah. So I did not know it existed until I was an adult collector. I was probably it was roughly around 2000 or 2001 before I found out that existed.
I think I was in high school, but that was
So
later.
Yeah.
I feel like it says something that I knew the Virtual Boy existed.
and you didn't know the
I
Master
didn't know
System.
the
Yeah.
Master
Yep,
System.
there you go, man.
existed.
You just
So-
liked headaches, that's all.
Anything
So
else?
he's been trying to get that caught up, and also John Riggs. I love his content as well.
What's
so
he do?
primarily video
It's
game
a lot
stuff.
of people I got a link to in the show notes, and I will be sending messages to them.
But John
No.
John covers stuff. He has done a lot of in the last year or so. Has done a lot of like ranking videos for like, hey, here's all of the Taito games that were released on the NES. Here's all of the game. Here's sometimes not all, but here's a bunch of games that you might have been playing on the NES in 1988. Here's arcade machines you might have been playing in 1983. Those types of things. So they've been very cool content.
Can I tell you that I got to know that guy through repros, making repros?
Oh, John,
Yeah.
That's awesome. I don't
Yeah.
think you ever told me
We
that.
were in a repro gaming group together,
That's awesome.
and then I started seeing his content. I was like, this guy's got some good stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, he's good.
Well, Lee, what about you?
I've been playing Blasphemous 2 that came out on the PlayStation 5 and a bunch of other systems. I've been playing through it. I've not quite finished it, but then I've also been playing through Mother on the NES, and I've been kind of fixated on it, honestly, because I'm currently trying to like analyze it a little bit, see what I can pull out of it. And I love that series anyway. So yeah, mostly Blasphemous 2, as in for like everyday normal gaming, and then Mother as basically research or Earthbound Beginnings.
Okay. Anything else?
So far, so good, man.
Aaron?
Haven't really been playing much new. Me and some of the guys went back and played some more of the Back for Blood DLC that we haven't finished, but that's about it.
Cody?
Hardcore World of Warcraft. Sorry.
You play hardcore. What do you think of Hardcore World?
I love it.
You digging it?
I've not made it past like level 24.
Oh, yeah?
But it's been a blast. I've killed so many characters.
I haven't had a chance to get into it, really, and I just, like, my classic era was my classic era, right? So I played with no one. I never really got into classic, but hardcore, I think I'd like to give it a shot.
That's awesome.
I know they just, the guild just finished Nax. Yeah, they just finished Nax and, like, had 6 or 7 people die. But that's insane to go through that many raids without deaths and get that's nuts. Sorry, Cody. Why did you?
I just played the Back for Blood DLC with Aaron. Started a new playthrough of Bloodborne because I am missing some of the trophies on the DLC, and I kind of wanted to go back and get those. And then I've been playing a little bit of Sentinels of the Multiverse, the definitive edition.
Are you playing like so? I know we played one. We played one the other night. Been playing solo or
We played a few on tabletop. I think you played 2 with us.
maybe
I think I played another 2 hands after that.
you played Sentinels. Maybe.
I think I introduced these fools
Yeah.
to Sentinels. Yeah.
So Sentinels versus Champions.
It's Champions.
Yeah, it's
I
110%.
do enjoy
Champions.
Sentinels still. I still own Sentinels.
Mhm.
I bought it was the
Play
first
that one?
Kickstarter I ever backed was to get the great big box that's like this huge, like
Nathan's
put
making
a
large hand signals.
well, no, I was going to say you could put like it's about the size of what you could put a life-size Chucky doll in.
Okay.
All right, because I'm sure that everyone listening will know what that is.
Yeah. I actually have 2 of those to
But-
use.
Yeah, I still have, but yeah, Champions. So I guess we didn't. All 4 of the 5 of us here have played Champions lately.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
One of us, many more games than others, but you know.
I want us to try to do. I want to do a little bit of like individual content. I know not last month, but month before last, because November is just going to have the singular episode in it. Month before last, in October, we released 3 episodes to kind of be special for the Halloween season, and I'd like to get, if we can find the time. I say month before last. That's podcast magic. It's actually October right now. So this
What?
month. I know, it's crazy, right?
What's in October?
Everybody's listening.
Why
Knows
to
we,
me?
we have like a 2-month ahead recording schedule. But I think it'd be fun to do some like content on the games we play, like individual little snippets. Maybe not those October episodes. We intended for them to be 20-30 minutes, and I think Lee and Cody's went an hour,
An hour
and
15 or
mine
something.
and Aaron's was an hour and a half. I think
it was a little bit over an hour of a train wreck. So.
Yeah. Hopefully everybody enjoyed them. It was kind of rambling for about stuff we did that was spooky and stuff we enjoyed. And that was the whole point. It was just meant to be a little bit more in-depth conversation on stuff that we like, because the actual October episode was that history of horror we went through, and it got, so far, it's been received well. We just released it, a few days ago, and we've had a big spike in listenership. So we thank you guys for listening to that. And if you like it, let us know. If you hate it, let us know.
No, you could do the critical encounters thing. If you like it, tell your friends. If you don't like it, tell your enemies.
I did that. We did that for the November episode, and I let them know. I reached out to Steve from that and let them know that we were to okay them with that we use that as our closing thing. And so, hopefully, because this is going to be in December, the November, the timeline's wonky. The timeline's wonky.
And he replied back, "How dare you?"
No, he was cool with it. He was like, "Yeah, just let me know when it comes out, and we'll do a little cross promotion thing." So hopefully that went off well. Because again, little peek behind the curtain, that doesn't come out for another month.
Is this like a Doctor Who timey-wimey thing?
Dude, pretty much wibbly wobbly, timey wimey.
Josh loves to try to make as much confusion as possible.
It's my favorite thing. It's one of my favorite parts about the podcast. Like, I love it when
You gotta be stalwart.
I love it when I'm listening to a podcast
sorry.
and I get that peek behind the curtain of like how the recording went, what they're using, if they're recording earlier than something. Like, I just dig that. It makes it feel more personable to me. You know, maybe whoever's listening to this friggin' hates this. just shut up and don't tell. But I like to, give you that.
It gives you
That kind of
multiple types
peak.
of people, though. So.
Yeah.
I've been posting anonymously to let you know I hate that stuff.
Well, there's
We
only
got-
been one.
We
so
got
now
this
we know.
one guy who just sends me hateful, vicious stuff all the time, and sexually threatening too. Turns out that was Aaron the entire time. All right, anybody got anything else there? Playing,
That's it.
watching, reading, enjoying? We've been playing a ton of Marvel Champions, and it is absolutely incredible LCG, my favorite game. And hopefully we'll be able to do a little bit of individual content on that at some point. And if you enjoy hanging out with us today, Nathan, we'll have you back and do some of that.
Well, I'm trying to figure a way to crawl out under this table already.
That's why we lock you in.
Just ignore the chain noise.
I knew it. I gotta go.
That's a trap.
Snap these on, man.
Ignore the chain noise. It's fine.
You're in the, what is it? Is it Clockwork Orange where they peel their
yeah.
eyes back,
Yeah.
set them back? Or,
You were a fool to think those were audio equipment.
Oh, man.
why am I the only one that's gotta wear nipple clamps?
The other
Helps the
things
sound.
other things I've played recently, non-tabletop, video game wise, was played with my two daughters. Have played a lot of Mario Kart 8 on the Switch.
I can't play
Played,
with my kids. They beat the hell out of me.
Ninja Turtles, Shredder's Revenge, also on the Switch. We went
Those are
through
pretty
that
good.
game
Dang.
and beat it. And then Rosalie and I, my oldest, we've gone through and played some more to try to do some of the achievements that don't take damage in the entire level, including the final boss battle against Krang and Shredder. That's just a no. I don't have I don't have that in me. Even if
I don't understand how people do that stuff.
yeah, I was like, that's okay. But I like all the other things. It's like don't get grabbed more than it. Okay, it says don't get grabbed more than 2 times. What does that mean to you?
Don't get
3 or
grabbed
more.
3 or more times.
Correct. But if you get grabbed twice, you fail. So it actually means don't get grabbed more than 1 time.
Don't get grabbed 2 or more times.
Or 2 or more times. Yes, but it says don't get grabbed more than 2 times. And you fail at the second grab.
That's an achievement.
Every single level that has one of those. And I'm like, it's going to raise my
like
blood
if,
pressure sitting here thinking about it.
And that's Shredder's Revenge. So if the people who made Shredder's Revenge get some hateful messages, then we know who they're from.
Yeah, it's me.
Or Aaron. We don't know who all these send to.
I send them to random people anyways.
Just flips through the phone book and like, this guy right here.
I mean, I guess we'd have to get line with another mutual friend of ours.
Oh, who? I don't know.
Oh yes, yes.
That's the. Oh Lord.
He knows who he is.
Okay.
If he's listening, he knows.
He's mid comment.
He was already typing a comment before I even said that.
Okay. As for me, really, I've been playing a lot of Marvel Champions with these guys, trying to go through and use some heroes and aspects we haven't played. I read Dreams Within Dreams, which is that little short novel by J.D. What was his name?
It's my money.
It's a little short. It's like a.
877.
It reminds me a lot of Big Trouble in Little China. If Little China was like out in the galaxy somewhere.
It is technically.
Yeah, M.D. Boncher. M.D. Boncher is who wrote it, and it's fun. It was a fun little read. I got through it in about 2 days of like reading for like 2 or 3 hours at a time. It's a really, really short, really consumable book, and there's a few of them, and I think I'm gonna get the next one. And it's this guy who ends up, he's a down on his luck space trucker, and he gets through a series of unfortunate events, he ends up having to take a haul from some unreputable or disreputable people. And then he ends up getting caught in this like space faction war, and there's an evil overlord, and there's all kinds of crazy stuff. And it's good. It's not it's not Citizen Kane. It's not.
It sounds like a war in the stars.
Kinda. It's almost like it's a war that's happening in the stars while they also trek across those stars.
Huh.
And there's big trouble, but there's little areas. And also Flash Gordon.
With a series of unfortunate events.
Yeah, there was a series of unfortunate events. I didn't even catch that. I heard Nathan over here snickering. I didn't even catch.
Me and Nathan both caught eyes. We were like,
Lemony
Snicket. That happens to be the trucker's name. No, but like it's.
Or is it Balthier? Like Final Fantasy 12.
What's that?
Is the
I never
trucker's
played
name
that
Balthier?
Is that a trucker from Final Fantasy 12?
Well, he's a space pirate, and then he ends up getting caught in between a war between the Empire and these, and he ends up picking up a couple of hitchhikers that he didn't really want.
Oh crap! Did this guy plagiarize Final Fantasy 12?
Well, technically they're not in space, so. But there's more to the guy in 12.
he changed the homework.
No, it's a really fun little read, and there's 2 or 3 books in the series. I haven't gotten to the second one. Like I said, it's not going to win a Pulitzer. It's not Stephen King, but it is. It's really good, and I highly suggest you guys check it out. And I'll put a link to it in the show notes. And then other than that, me and Elizabeth are going to try out this game. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm looking at it. It's labeled as a quote unquote cozy MMO, Palia.
Oh yeah.
Anybody looked into it?
It looked interesting.
Has heard of it? It's. I mean, I haven't looked into a ton of it, admittedly, but it's supposedly just like it's like Stardew Valley, but 3D,
I have heard of it just now.
Yeah. Just ringing some bells. I just mentioned it.
I think you mentioned it to me once.
Yeah.
It actually looks interesting.
Yeah, we want to try it out because that's her. We just reserved our private theater for the Marvels. Nice.
Everybody's invited.
Nope.
Come on
save
now.
the date on this. But yeah, so we're looking to get into that. I think I'm actually going to download it tonight and try it out. So next episode we'll check it out. It looks pretty cool. Little farming sim.
How do you spell it?
Palia. Palia. And I'll put a link to it in the show notes. It's in open beta right now. It's supposed to release, quote unquote, holiday 2023. So it's free to play open beta right now. So
Genius. Which holiday?
Yeah.
Which I mean,
well, there's only got a few coming up.
Like, you're getting slim.
All right, so I think we're at our 20-minute mark, which is what we usually like to hit for our what are we playing, what are we watching, what are we reading. So let's get into the main topic of today, and our main topic is friendly local game stores, why we love them. We get to pull back the curtain and see the man behind it, the Wizard of Oz himself, for us at least here. That's Nathan. Nathan's our Oz. He's worked at all the game stores we've went to.
I don't
Over the
remember.
Both 2 of them.
All the ones, both two of them here. We live in a town of like what,
7,000.
Yeah, 7,000 people. The fact we have 2 is probably oversaturated.
I don't remember the Wizard of Oz ever like taking money from Dorothy.
Oh,
Oh, that's what you think.
at the Emerald City? There's no way that dude wasn't laundering something.
I
Like,
was
he
gonna say,
had
how do you
something
think he
going on.
paved those roads?
Yeah. I guarantee you the Wicked Witch of the East owed him money. And that's why that house landed on him. And the Good Witch of the North, she had no problem with it. Like, just murder right in front of her. And she came down and was like, "Oh, Dorothy, don't mind that. Let's just walk away. Serves you right, you bitch." Just goes
We're
on.
collecting insurance payments.
Yes. What?
So, as a testament as to how long Nathan has been working in these video game stores, like, people around here like to tell their children sometimes that mommy and daddy love each other, and then they what's the word?
Copulate.
They copulate their relationship, right? That's not actually how nerds are born. Nathan delivers them from the Cabbage Patch. That is the little game. So,
Crawl out of an old Pokemon booster box.
yeah.
Just ripped
Wow.
out. He gives them their first sideburns and sends them off.
He's
This
like,
is like-
come back for me,
we're gonna
Fedora.
I'm just going full on Lord of the Rings and paint his hand white and smack it across his face.
Smack it right
He says, "Whom do you serve?"
You want to go to kind of.
That's
There's plenty of paint
Wow.
there for him to do it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, it's not.
I can't deny that. I don't know. I mean,
It's not true.
That's wow. All
How,
right.
how disappointing must it be to open Pokemon pack and be like, it's a kid.
This is an original 98 booster. First edition base set. Open it up, and it's just some stupid
A 25-year-old child.
with a fedora and a katana.
Another man child. My goodness.
I'm here to buy Lorcana.
Good evening, my lady.
Is it Lorcana or Lorcana?
Lorcana is what I've heard, but I don't know.
I've always said Lorcana. What's coming out?
That's all I've ever heard from
All right, so let's turn it over to Nathan. And Nathan, just give us a little bit of your history and nerddom, what got you into nerdy stuff, how you started in the business, what you're doing now, just your entire history from conception until this moment.
Somebody else pulled him out of a booster pack.
Yeah, who pulled you out of a booster pack? I assume it was Pat.
Well, I guess actually probably started with He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, Christmas of 1984.
A lot of young men's sexual awakening.
Santa brought me Castle Grayskull and about 15 figures.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that. So I still have all of those except He-Man. My sister and I fought over He-Man not too long after that. And this was after a conversation that my parents had had with us that if you break your toys, we will not replace that toy. You will still get toys, but so in this instance, we broke He-Man, and I was an adult collector almost 20 years later before I owned another He-Man. I had to play He-Man for the rest of my childhood with Prince Adam with He-Man's armor on.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that's so sad.
Yeah, so that's what's wrong with me now.
You poor child.
Explain.
That's
so
the end of the
much.
story. No,
There's going to be a link at the end of the episode for $1 a day. You can get this man the He-Man he deserves.
Well, he's got it now.
But yeah, so I started collecting. I was a kid, but I kept all of the toys, all of the accessories, and not long after that, I guess it would have been Christmas of 1986. One of my uncles gave me a set of the 1986 Topps baseball cards, and that really I was into collecting. Like at just over 5 years old, I was into collecting basically immediately. I thought it was so cool to go through and be like, oh man, I already had the whole set, but I started collecting baseball cards. At that point, I collected baseball cards until about 1991, and then I transitioned to basketball cards. And in 1993, I was at a neighbor's business. He was one of my dad's friends, and he had a local printing shop over in Williamson. Invited me to come over. I was 12 to just, kind of see what it's like to do, to work, like to do what he did for a living, because I'd asked him a lot of questions about it, and
What did he print?
he did. Think of it as like the UPS store, except this would have been in 1993.
Okay, so like signs. And,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
okay, I
Business
thought you meant
cards.
like printing, like a print shop for like cards, like collectible cards and stuff like that. I was like, there was that in Williamson in
no,
the
gosh,
90s.
no. And for lunch that day, we went around to a store called Michael's that was in Williamson, and I had intended, as the nerd that I was, I had intended to purchase a crossword book with the money that I had taken. And in addition to because they had like a sandwich, you could get sandwiches and chips and things like that at this place as well. And so I was going to get a sandwich and some chips and a crossword book. And when I walked in, the little ramp that they had, so at like head level for my little 12-year-old self, was 3 comic racks, and one of those racks had X-Men Unlimited #1 on it. And it had Cyclops and Storm and Professor Xavier, and they looked just like what I had been seeing on the cartoon.
Okay, yeah.
And so I picked it up and started looking at it, and it was the same cost as the crossword book. And I decided to buy that comic, and it just went from there.
Made a choice that day.
Yeah,
You did.
And
That was a crossroads.
Yep. So, I've started collecting comics then, and
You ever regret it? You ever look back and think, if I go back in time, I'd smack that damn comic book out of that little boy's hands?
No.
Get your crossword book, Nathan.
As it turns out, like I have, I've been able to make a career out of it. It is definitely not something that most people can do, and I don't say that out of conceit. It's just that it's not easy to take something that most people look at as something that you just do in college. High school or college, a job that you would just have in high school or college, and actually make a career that you can support a family with. So no, I
Give up on your dreams now, kids. You're never gonna make it.
yeah. And I guess so. That was comics. I collected toys. I guess between He-Man, and then G.I. Joe. As a kid, I tried, work to finish those collections as an adult collector in later years. And then, I started collecting video games in about 1997. I started to purchase inventories of stores as video rental stores as they were going out of business, because a lot of them started to go out of business in the late part of the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
I was mowing grass and had more money than sense. It was like my parents were kind of like, you pay for your insurance and your gas, and you can do what you want with the rest of your money. And well, I spent, I just bought comics and then started buying out video game stores. But I started selling. I would buy buddies' collections from like high school. It was my nickname, I guess even still, but especially in high school, was Luther Bob. So people would be like, man, if you need some money, spending money for the weekend or to go on this school trip or whatever, holler at Luther Bob. He'll buy your old toys. Because I would buy, especially G.I. Joe toys, because most of my guy friends that I had in high school also had G.I. Joe toys when they were kids. And I would buy them, keep what I wanted for my personal collection, and then sell the rest on Yahoo auctions when they were free. And existed. I don't know if Yahoo auctions still exists. But it was so new that it was free. eBay did not exist yet, at least not to my knowledge.
I didn't even know Yahoo auctions was ever a thing.
Yeah. Wow. And I rode my bicycle down about a mile down the road to the mouth of the hollow to go to the, because I wasn't even driving yet. I would ride my bicycle down to the mouth of the hollow to mail packages to people around the country of things they were buying from me as a 14, 15-year-old kid.
That's awesome.
That is enterprising.
So when did you make the jump from that to, it's a logical jump, right? You're doing that on your own, then you see there's a comic shop or whatever's opened up, you want to go in it. So when did you get into, working at a comic shop?
Well, right after I went to school here in town. It was Pikeville College at the time. Now it's the University of Pikeville. And I started there in August of 99. And I had a lot of dead place. I was a commuter at the time, and I had a lot of dead time between classes. The person that helped me do my schedule did not take into account that I was a commuter, and I had classes 5 days a week.
Yep.
And 2 and 3 and 4 hour gaps in between classes sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And page 3 was on 2nd Street at that time, which was a very short walk across,
Yep.
you know,
It was down
Hamley
there.
Boulevard to get there. So I would just hang out there for hours sometimes. And within, you know, a day or two, like the first couple of days was just me browsing. And in less than a week, I was kind of like, hey, Pat.
This is the Pat that was on episode 2
Oh, yes.
of our podcast. Who wants to go back and then be introduced to Pat?
So I would be like, hey, Pat, do you need help with like this? Can I organize these? You care if I go through your comic table and make sure they're alphabetized? Like, just something to pass the time. And within, I don't know, a few weeks, Todd, the owner, was like, dude, do you want a job? Like, and I was like, for money? And he was like, yeah, like you're here all the time and you're doing good work. So yeah, so sometime, like I said, it was still within August. It was within the month of August. So like early August is when I started classes over there, and before the end of August I was working there. And I worked there for 18 years, and then took a brief hiatus and worked at the hospital, and then started my own online business that I worked for a couple years until the gaming company opened, and the owners of that store, which had a South Williamson location only at the time, kind of reached out and was like, hey, do you want to do a team up? And 2.5 years later, here we are. So
that's when Sean shoehorned you into managing.
well, it is what it is. So
Todd said, "You've birthed how many babies here?"
Look at this vast acreage we have for cabbage.
yeah.
Nerdom.
You might as well work here, man.
So I guess, actually selling stuff started, like actually making money on collectibles. I started doing that, I guess it would have been in 1990, the summer of 1996.
You can read this all in his autobiography. I made it. You probably can't.
You probably can't. Oh my gosh. I'll give $10 to somebody that can Photoshop a picture of Nathan on my book cover. I made it. You probably can't. Sit down. That's got to be a picture for the episode where we post pictures on the thing. So it's going to make that.
Nathan.
I made. You can put you in a nice sweater. There's a fire in the background. He-Man's got like his arm around Nathan.
It's gonna be the action figure he made.
Got Prince Adam and
Put it on.
Prince Adam and He-Man's arm.
I was gonna say, if it's a regular He-Man, it's gonna be broken. His arm like twisted. Like
So there's the as short as I am capable of mustering.
No, it's good.
Of my time in the industry.
That's actually the briefest I've ever heard you recall that. That's really impressive.
Yeah, it's just
I've
under
heard
just
long
over
version,
14
yeah.
minutes. And that was with me interjecting every now and then to try to move.
But it is such an interesting story, man. It's like,
Oh, yeah.
you're the only person I know, personally, that has that. I mean, that really sounds like the start of somebody's like autobiography that deals with this stuff. It's like, how many kids were doing that stuff, you know?
Well, even one of the owners of the gaming company, I started him. Like he has told me about like when he came in as a kid, and started buying Magic. I don't know if it was Magic or Pokemon at the time, but it started buying cards from me back in 20-some years ago.
that was one of his successful Cabbage Patches growing up.
I think I'm one of Nathan's successful Cabbage Patches too, because I'm pretty sure that when I was this is 2000, so I was about 12, maybe 12, 13, you sold me my first 3.5 Monster Manual.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure, because I had a $20 bill and they were $20, but it was plus tax or whatever. And I came in there and I remember like coming up to the hotel, I was like, hey, I want to get this Monster Manual because I got the DM's guide and we wanted to learn how to play D&D, me and my buddies. And I was like, oh, I got a Monster Manual. I got to get a Monster Manual. So I went in there. My mom had parked across the street. We ran in. It was when it was downtown.
It's on 2nd Street.
And I'm pretty sure it was you behind the counter. The more I think about it, because it may not have been, but I'm almost certain it was. And I handed you a $20 bill and said, I wanted this. And you were like, oh, it's $1 something else in taxes. And I just felt the color drain out of me. Like, I don't have $1 or something else.
What's tax?
I'm 12, man. I had a 20. There you go. That's what I got. Like, this is transaction should be done here. And you were just so kind and so cool. They were like, "Oh yeah, well, you know what? We're good. You go on."
He remembers that. You should have heard the things he said after you left.
These kids come in here and they don't have enough money. Don't let him come back here.
And it's the first hit's free, buddy.
Oh, yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
See, the downtown was my first experience at Page 3 as well. And I can't remember who it was that was down there, but I went in and bought a Sega Genesis game. It was Quackshot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember who it was that was in there.
I mean, that was definitely all of our first experience. That's what we grew up with.
I didn't buy anything from downtown Page 3.
Never.
I was poor.
Well, I done a lot of work on my own, mowing grass and making money and went in, but
My parents bought love, so.
I got that game specifically because my cousin had stole it from me and sold it, and I'm pretty sure that the copy I bought from there was the one he stole from me, but
Oh, wow.
I have no proof, so...
Yeah, so what do you say about that, Nathan? Huh? Selling stolen goods back to Cody 25 years ago.
It was all part of my master plan. How else do you think I was going to get that cabbage?
He's a
plant
fence.
started?
Yeah, he's a fence.
It's like a beach road.
the great and powerful Oz. How do you think he paid for those gold streaks?
But I mean, that comes down to I hate to bring it up like that, but there's no way like on just a cartridge, a game store is going to know it's stolen unless there's like some sort of identifying mark. And I mean, it wasn't. It was a clean cartridge.
So actually, 3 of the 4 people here have also worked for you. So.
That's true.
Yeah, I haven't worked for you.
Yeah, me and Aaron both worked at.
You might as well when you were putting those tables together.
Huh? Oh, well, yeah, I was helping. I'm a
Nick.
Yeah, that's the healthcare job I had, was delivering Cabbage Patch babies. I'd shave the little sideburns onto them, put the little curls in their mustache.
Start putting on your resume that you worked in a NICU, and they're like, "Oh wow, great! You'll be well qualified to help with this IT job at this hospital." Wait, no. It's, you know what? Let's just go with it.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes.
Where was the NICU located? In between discarded gaming controllers and loose cartridges.
I had to use a hoe and a rake to dig the baby's house. They were
This metaphor is losing itself. So talking about you being kind to a young man who came in and didn't quite have enough money. So here's a question I wanted to ask, and I want to ask just about running a game store, because this is something we love. We all participate in them, and Lee goes down there a bunch. Me and Aaron and Cody are down there all the time doing stuff. So how has that been? Like, do you ever look back and think, man, how do you go about opening this up and getting participation in a community that we live in a community like we live in? We are smack down in the middle of the hills. We're not in some big metropolitan area. We have a college. We have a couple colleges actually, which is, we have the technical school and we got the college here, and then UVA Wise is just hop, skip, and a jump. But I mean, that's during school time, and then in the summers everybody kind of goes off. How do you get a base? Like, how do you go about
I don't know if
keeping participation in?
I don't know if you've heard, but the hills have nerds.
That's
That's
true.
the point.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Bird is the word.
I guess the only 2 that I've started, well, I guess 3, but me selling on the Yahoo auctions, we'll set that aside. But starting my own online business from scratch a few years ago, and then opening the gaming company in 2021. Because, when I started at Page 3, it was already an established business. It had already been open for about 6 years at that point. So, but the only thing, like doing my own online thing a few years ago, like just to, the faceless masses on eBay and so forth, that, was just a matter of, I wanted to make sure that I provided superior customer care and making sure that I was as accurate as possible from a collector's standpoint, from a very particular collector's standpoint, with my descriptions, and making sure that my stuff was as clean as I could possibly get it. So that way that anyone that was making a purchase blind online would have the best possible picture of what they were getting, both from a physical, actually seeing pictures, but also just from reading the description. But then, translating to opening a a physical storefront part, that was just kind of went to it. It's like, look, I still approach this, and I've always approached it from the standpoint of I am a collector myself of many different things, and I know what it's like to look for things for my collection, to hope to find a particular item, and as well as to find, like, okay, the condition matters then. Like, say, okay, like I am okay with, maybe I'll pick up this issue of Batman from 1972. I'm okay if it's graded at 2.0. I mean, not, if I were to have it graded, but just to say, like, if look at that and go, this is about a 2. It's a good, in an official comic grade capacity, and it's only $3. I'm okay with that, even though, like, if it was in, a much better condition, it may be a $50 or $100 comic, but I'm not. It's like I'm not putting. It's like I'm not going to price it for $100 just because it's like, oh, I saw it on. I did a Google search or an eBay search and found, somebody had this listed for $100. Well, yes, but that's in basically like new condition, and this one looks like that it has been rolled up in your pocket and rode around on your bicycle through the mud. Okay, that's a quarter book or a dollar book or whatever the case. So
some Pokemon cards that got washed in the washing machine.
Yeah.
I got a fistful of them. What do you give me?
So trying to go at it from that standpoint, and also, like, I've always been interested in helping, not just helping collectors and gamers find the things that they want by doing, like, I mean, at the very least, I know that Lee, you have on numerous occasions been like, hey, I'm looking for X and Y, and if you come across it, let me know.
Oh yeah.
I don't always remember everything, but I do try to, I like make lists of things for people so that at least I have a shot of remembering, so that way I can help connect somebody with something that they're looking for.
Oh yeah.
So there's that part, but then also people that are friends and family members and such that are looking to buy gifts for the gamer or collector in their life, to help them make sense of what it is they're looking for.
Well, that's awesome. Let me comment on that real quick. I thought that was a great point you made to me many years ago, was how people that aren't part of Nerdom, they have, maybe some people have children, and they just don't know much about the interests of their child. It's like, my parents wouldn't know what game to look for me. Sure. Ever. They would, like, buy me some games, and I got some weird stuff over the years because of that. But you've been so good at, like, when somebody comes in, they say, hey, I'm interested in this game, or my kid likes games. What do you think? You just start off the whole, like, do they like Pokemon? Do they like... It's just,
putting the friendly local in the friendly local game store.
Yeah,
and that is so... And I mean, that's why I went and helped you put together friggin' tables. Man, forever. I ain't paid for it. I ain't worked for you. But we got to support that. Like, if that's your outlook and that's how you feel about it, I don't find you as a tyrant. But we support our stores like that. And that goes out to everybody, anybody who listens to us that's in a community where you wish you had this, like, support your stores. As long as the people managing the stores aren't dickheads. But... go out, support your stores. Go to their Friday Night Magics. Go to their little board game things. Sell them out. That's how you get public buy-in. You put that friendly local in the FLGS.
Yeah, and it's real easy for people to just throw their hands up and be like, I don't understand what my kid's interested in. Yeah. I don't know anything about that. But encouraging people to know more, it's awesome. It's a great service you offer.
And if you don't, it's good to ask.
Yeah.
It's people like Nathan.
Be approachable.
Yeah.
I mean, even now, particularly with board games, is the one that I still get asked about the most, is when someone will come in, and even if it's one of the other people that work at my store, will be like, hey, do you need help with anything? And they're like, well, I was just kind of looking for a new board game, and if I'm in the shop, then it's like, well, hold on just a moment. Let me go get a guy. So, but just trying to help people make sense of, like, okay, what, some of the questions I normally ask to start out with are about how many people do you intend to normally play with? Mm-hmm. Because if somebody tells me 2, then I don't need to consider things like a One Night Ultimate Werewolf, because you need way more than 2 people for that. So it's like, okay, that, even though that's a game that they may enjoy, but if they're normally only playing with 2 people, that's not a good fit.
Marvel Champion.
And well,
How many people you got? 5.
and then it'll be like,
Marvel Champion.
you know, about how long do you anticipate? Like, do you think would be a normal game session? Because again, if somebody says about 30 minutes, then Twilight Imperium should not be a suggestion.
Well, maybe not.
Yeah. So, but if they say, you know, I'm looking at, you know, a couple hours, well, that opens up a whole lot of things. Doesn't mean I'm going to, you know, suggest a 2-hour game out the gate. It's just that is a very different. You're looking for a very different experience at that point. So, and we just kind of walk down some of that, and then it's like, what are, you know, do you have experience with any, you know, any games? You know, most of the time, for years, it's been, well, I've played Monopoly, I've played Sorry, I've played Uno, those type, you know, the very, very standard traditional things that most people think about when they think of board games.
You probably don't recommend Gloomhaven right off the bat.
Correct. And that's something that a lot of people, even that have worked with me in the past and in the present, don't consider. And that's not a knock to any of them. It's just to say that if they have been playing Gloomhaven and loving it, and then it's like, well, I mean, because as much as I love Marvel Champions, I'm not going to suggest Champions out the gate to just anybody. That's part of kind of having that tailored experience for someone. You know, that they're not, you know, you're not going to get at just any store, even not necessarily going to get at just any small game store like ours.
So here's a question stemming off of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you're hiring people, so you're managing the store, right? You're the GM. You're hiring people for these stores, and I know a lot of people get the idea that, hey, this is a store where, you know, your local 15-year-old can come down, get a part-time job, and in some fashion it's probably true. But how do you vet your people? Because I know, and again, gaming company not a sponsor, right? I just got to say, we're not sponsored by anybody. We just love these places and we want to participate and talk about them. Page 3 not a sponsor, but if gaming company would like to sponsor them, I will. Buddy, I'll tattoo your name on my friggin' forehead. Anyway.
In the words of Tim Curry, that can be arranged. I think that was on what, Three Musketeers, I think.
No, but,
he was Cardinal Richelieu.
Yeah.
How do you go about like vetting your people, and what do you look for in a worker to hire? Because we got 3 of them here. So be brutal about it. And then if you regret any of these hires,
apparently he didn't know us very well.
That's because I know what these guys.
I mean, I was desperate.
I look for a room temperature IQ. That's where I started.
I'm pretty sure when you called me, you were like, when can you come down?
We need somebody.
Well, I was told once upon a time that I fought off ninjas down 2nd Street to get to a dude and be like, please come and work for me. So, yeah. Anyway.
That's a story I need to hear.
But, well, one of the...
are they alive and willing to work?
Generally speaking, a luxury that I have had in many instances over the course of over 2 decades has been that because of the nature of having a cool game store, an environment that's fun, that's not just going to work at a typical fast food joint or a standard, you know, and it's not to knock
mines. It's
not to knock a McDonald's or a Walmart. It's just that unfortunately a lot of people that work there or have worked there, you know, don't have good experiences to share, you know. So having a cool environment, a welcoming environment like that, I have normally had a lot of people that will just come by and be like, are you hiring right now? And I'm like, a lot of times I'm like, well, no, but leave information with me. And the next time that I am in a position to make a hire, I'd be happy to talk with you at that time. Because, you know, I don't want to talk to somebody really today and then it be 8 or 9 months before I'm hiring again. I may not remember anything that we said at that particular juncture.
Do you like vet them for like nerd knowledge? Like, do you hire people?
To a degree, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
It is not a requirement. I have never made it a requirement, but I will say the best hires that I've ever made have had at least some interest in something
That
that
makes
a
sense.
store carries.
You're
I
welcome.
mean, that usually cuts down on some of your training too, because I mean, they've already sat and taught themselves a lot about the product that they're selling. So
Yeah, you can't just train everybody in every.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and we don't like even right now, like today. It's like I know about most of the things we carry. My weakest area is anime and manga, but most everybody else that works at the store now knows a lot about that. So it's like, hey, my Achilles is their strength, so we're in good shape.
Thanks, Travis.
Yeah. You know, I'm not really current on like Magic the Gathering, but I played Magic the Gathering for years back in the 90s and into the 2000s, and I at least understand what's going on with the game enough to be able to help somebody, you know, learn the basics and try to figure out whether or not it's a game that makes sense for them. And then I suggest Marvel Champions.
I remember when I worked for you. That's my strongest was video games, and I knew a little bit about the cards, and I didn't know. I knew a small amount about comic books, but as I worked,
Yeah.
I learned more about
Yeah.
comic books.
Oh yeah.
yeah, learn more as you go. Like you, I was strongest in video games, but I knew a little bit more about cards than anything else. So
Sure. And that's, I mean, most of the people that I've hired over the years, their strength has been video games. It's the broadest thing. It's the thing that we sell the most of. You know, it makes
So
sense.
neither of you are special.
I already knew that.
That's not true. My mom tells me all the time.
That wasn't your mother. That was a video game store.
Oh God!
Shoot, if all three of you guys, if you'd have been on the market when I opened this store 2 years ago, I would have hired y'all three.
To be fair, Sean did ask.
So, but yeah, it's I mean, I think probably the person that one of the best, and I'm just gonna shout her here because she was such a good employee and became such a good friend. But when I hired Davina many years ago,
She was great to work with.
she didn't have a whole lot of knowledge about hardly anything that we carried, but I could tell that she was very kind and interested to learn, and and she was very passionate about music, and so that was kind of like, well, we were kind of talking about trying to dabble in some music anyway at the time, you know, like some old records and CDs and stuff. So it kind of went from there, and man, she took off and learned so much stuff so fast. And like fast forward to now, like I think she still is an avid board gamer.
Awesome.
You know, so
She taught me a whole lot about records too.
yeah.
With them I was there.
Same.
You do a good job of finding people that are passionate about this stuff to share in workplaces. Because I mean, I'm sure we've all have experienced it. To go in a store
Oh god.
and have somebody that has, I mean, like to have some extent, fantastic, but people that have no idea.
I don't want to name names.
No,
about
I won't.
stores if we-
I won't.
yeah.
But it's like to have no idea what they're talking about. It's a little frustrating at times.
I mean, I've been in stores around the nation.
Yeah.
This is not just a local thing. Like
Oh,
this is,
yeah.
I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I have
I know,
been
yeah.
to stores literally on the West Coast to the East Coast,
I think me Kentucky.
all the way up into. I think the farthest north that I've been to a store in is New York, and then I've been to stores as far south as Miami.
I went to one in Hawaii.
I've never been to Miami,
Okay.
but
I thought you said you'd been to Miami. You meant Hawaii.
I've been to Miami. I haven't been to Hawaii.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
okay.
Yeah.
Now we can't trust anything.
No.
Which is it, Nathan? Miami or Hawaii?
It's my fault.
They're the same thing.
Video game
But been
store.
to all these different stores and have been to ones that I have left, and it's like, wow, this is I don't think that I do these things this way, but I'm going to go back and do some good
Sure.
self-reflection to make sure.
I can't stand it,
Yeah.
and I'm sure there's a ton of people with me on this. I can't stand it, and I've talked to you about this before. When I walk into a place and no one says hi to me, no
Yeah.
one acknowledges that I walked in, and like again, putting the friendly local in the friendly local game
yeah.
store.
See,
Like,
there's also a disconnect there because that's when like for the friendly local game store, that's where you learn your customer. Because there was some that I found out pretty quickly they don't want you to speak to them when they walk in. They just kind of want to walk in, walk around, and you just kind of learn your customer as they come in. And I mean, where you're a local game store, I mean, typically everyone around here has done a good job with that. They know who's who to speak to when
I'm
they
saying
come
if
in.
it's a new customer and they
Yeah,
walk
new
through and you're
customer.
just sitting there like looking at your comic book and they just walk in and go do that and you don't even acknowledge they walk in.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, new customer. Yeah,
If you know the
acknowledge
guy,
that
like you
learn.
nod and go on, like whatever. But
I
if
always
it's-
said hi to you, Josh.
yeah,
I mean,
I didn't want to talk to you.
I just made a
Well.
disgruntled face and went and hid in the back. When they walked in.
I mean, some of the things that I have drilled, that like day one training. I mean, to my knowledge, possibly even to training all three of you fellas, was some of the things was, and even still,
Babies. Nathan's
yeah,
babies.
to say like some of the first things. It's like make sure if you don't do anything else, here's things. One is make sure you greet people when they first come in or when they come into your area. Like at our store now where it's a little bit spread out and we have the 2 registers and so forth. It's like I don't care where you're stationed at, where you're working. If someone comes in and that's the first time you've seen them that day, say hello. Another thing is make sure that you count change correctly, and another one is make sure you show the game discs to people and show them the conditions. So that
I never did get that stuff.
so that you don't accidentally give them Madden 99 instead of Madden 98, that type of thing.
That has actually saved a few times. Cause selling this, I pulled one out and was like, oh wait, that's Tiger Woods. So no, hold on,
Yep.
that's the wrong one.
Yep. So, and I'm sure, like even as collectors since then, I would imagine at least once in a while you've gone to another store anywhere and been like, hey, and you go to the counter and they give you a game and you go, that's not the right game. Oh, you're right. And then you save yourself a trip back to a place that you otherwise probably never would have gone back to. And not because it was bad, it's just that you're like, I'm in Colorado and I live in Kentucky, you know?
I was actually on vacation somewhere and went to a store, and before I checked out, they just put the disc in the case and set it down on the counter and was ringing stuff up, and I opened it and looked and was like, man, that disc is cracked. I don't want that.
Yeah, those types of things too. Yep.
So how you make money?
You mug people. As
Well,
they come in.
What?
First, you get a group of suckers like us.
It's really a disgusting process for Nathan. It's like you put money in this end, and it comes out the other with more money. It's unreal. He's the golden goose.
No, but here's like you want to provide a good service for people in the community, but with the way things are going up and inflation's going up and COVID just absolutely destroyed the shipping industry, shipping infrastructure. Like, how do you, and wages stagnant, whatever have you, how do you continue to support the community in a meaningful way? And I know people come in and want to haggle all the time and go, oh, what's the best you can do on this? What's the best you can do on that? Like, what's your market? And if you could just talk on that for a second and then talk like your most profitable items versus your least profitable items. Like, how does that work? And say as much detail as you're willing to go into.
No, I'm
this is
just
just interesting.
That's a lot of things. So how do you make money?
I can tell you one is I went in the other day and he had a copy of Silent Hill 2 that was complete. And I traded in an incomplete copy and bought the complete copy.
Again,
like the sick in the head kind of man I am.
I have that blue dragon head every time I walk through there, and I know it will lead to my divorce if I come home with it.
And you just recently married too.
Yeah.
Well,
For me, it's always sell items. He's like, Aaron will buy this.
Yeah, and you're talking about like you go in and eye the board games. It's like, and then I secretly watch on camera to see what you're looking at, so I can put it on sale, so that you're for sure gonna buy it.
I believe it.
Mark it down $1.87 less than what it was, and you go, oh man, what a deal!
Travis, you could check out the Aaron footage for the day.
Do we have an Aaron cam? We have camera 1 through 16 and an Aaron cam.
Aaron walks in, Travis a little microphone. Aaron has just entered the building. Let's activate cameras 1 through 5. Everyone be on the lookout. This is not a drill.
Code redhead. Code redhead.
This
The
is not a
red
drill.
fox has entered the den.
Red fox is in the den.
Oh goodness. Well, part of the things is I have for a number of years now, and especially since the entire time the gaming company's been open, to make sure to have new product of some sort hitting the shelves basically at a minimum of 5 days a week.
You have to have reasons for people to come back.
To give, and you and I, Lee, have had this conversation several times, and I'm a firm believer in it, a total agreement with you on that, just that it's like, because you will hear if you listen to podcasts or watch video things that are about gaming stores, whether it's tabletop gaming stores or video gaming stores or comic book stores, whatever the case, around the world, you will hear people talk about how that I went in on January the 1st and saw X, Y, and Z there, and when I went in on October the 1st, they still had X, Y, and Z there and nothing else.
Yep.
You know, and there's going to be times when, if you're an NES collector, that there are durations of time that there's not going to be a whole lot to come in. Because it's not like I can just order them from a wholesale distributor. I have to wait on trade-ins.
Yeah.
But making sure that the stuff that is a trade-in reliant source, like vintage video games and old comic books and things like that, that you are still actively being competitive enough with your pay so that people will want to come and sell them to you. And then for the things that you do order from wholesale distribution, that you actually order stuff and restock them on a regular enough basis. So even though it's like, I may come in and see, somebody may say, well, every time I come in here, I see a copy of Catan. Well, I'm a board game store. I would hope I have Catan. Yes. But that might not be the exact same copy that I had on January the 1st. Even if it is, you know what? I'm going to keep that on my shelf. It's Catan. But there's also all of these other dozens of new games that have cycled in and potentially out during that time. But it's something that if you come down there, at least, I don't know, once a month, maybe, that you're going to find something somewhere. I mean, again, unless you're a laser focused, I'm only looking to see if you have the new vinyl that got released from Leaf Outs last week. Okay, well, I may not have that. It may be a while. But if you're just looking to see, hey, here, I collect Funko Pops and Pokemon cards and PS2 games. There's a really good chance that at least one, if not all three of those things, you're going to have new things to browse about every time that you come.
Yep. You said new vinyl from Leaf Outs, and I seen Lee being like, can I release vinyl?
He'll plug that shit on here.
With YouTube, you can get the U2s.
Oh, no, I was like, I'm not at 40 years old. I'll multi-class again.
Multi-class. Then you get your new feet.
But yeah, having making sure that you have new product. I do strive to make sure that it's competitively priced. There's going to be some things, that when we order a new a new copy of Catan, when we restock it, well, whatever, MSRP is eluding me right now, but it's like, okay, I'm just going to put that on it. And some people would say, well, that's too high. I can get it cheaper online. Well, I understand that, but there's a couple of parts to it. One, I do price matching, and I have done that for many years.
So what do you mean price matching?
So like if you see a copy of Catan, for example, on Amazon or on Noble Knight or some other online retailer for a cheaper price than what I have it for, and you come up and say, hey, I think Cody did that just a week or two ago.
Sentinels of the Multiverse.
With Sentinels.
The definitive edition.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we were sitting next to each other.
Yeah. It was like,
playing
hey,
Marvel Champions.
I see this for, $30 or whatever. Can you price match that? And I looked, and it's like, yeah, I can.
Does that make you take it for a loss?
I generally try not to sell things at a loss.
Well,
yeah. But once that's part of the making money.
You monster.
But once in a while,
you ever need your screwdriver.
If you have had something as a retailer, it's like if for example I had that Sentinels of the Multiverse since we opened and had not sold a single copy, and it's going online for less than what I paid for it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to sell it. I'm going to sell it at a loss. I hate to,
get what you can.
but I would rather have some money than no money.
Some money and none money.
And retail space to free up and
yeah. So at that point, like some people will say, well, I'll never sell anything at a loss. I don't want to ever sell anything at a loss, but sometimes you do have to take a loss on some things when you when you realize either I shouldn't have ordered this in the first place, or I ordered too much, or I which is usually a misjudge of demand. You think, I'll just here in this year with Pokemon the Paldea Evolved set. Scarlet and Violet came out, sold 50 plus boxes of it. The same thing that we've done basically every other set, between 50 and 72 boxes a set. And then Paldea Evolved comes, and when by the time almost 3 months later, when Obsidian Flames released, sold like 11 boxes. There's no possible way that when those orders were due, because there's no set list.
It's the stuff I love.
You have no idea that what's in the set. All you know is the name and the release date. And like how many packs are in the box.
You get that months and months before. There's no leaks or spoilers. Yes. Yeah.
And you are required to take what you pre-order. And if you don't, you can have your account shut down. So then you don't get any more going forward. You don't only just, okay, well, I didn't have to take a loss on this set. Oh, guess what? You also just don't get to make money on any of the other ones going forward. No. That's a no. Yeah. So,
but take that loss.
Yeah, well, just sitting, just thinking purely, if you've sold 50 or more of a thing time after time after time again, when the next one comes, how many do you think you should order?
I mean, 50, of course.
At least 50?
Yeah.
Minimal. Okay.
That's what we talked about it the other day. It's Pokemon. That's usually a safe bet.
It's Pokemon, yeah. But that turned out to be a stinker of a set value-wise, right out the gate. And holy smokes, there it goes. And that, ladies and gentlemen, that usually sinks a local game store like ours that are operating on the money they make from the newest release set is what they use to pay for the next set.
Yeah.
And when that money doesn't come, then they can't pay for the next thing. Mm-hmm. Countless times over the years, both in my personal experience as well as just hearing about stories of people across the nation, around the world, stores that are exclusive to Magic the Gathering or Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh! But usually Magic is usually the one that is we are only a Magic the Gathering store.
Yeah.
That's all they do.
I went into several. One was in the back of a dude's house.
Sure.
Literally the back of his house, and it was Magic the Gathering and looked like some stuff he picked up from a yard sale.
Sure.
And that was it. That was all he had. And it wasn't even a nice store, but it was a ton of Magic the Gathering. They had I think when I walked in, there was a ton of people. I thought it was a house party at first. So it was like 25 people playing Friday Night Magic.
Yeah.
In the back of this dude's house, that was a store. It was wild.
Well, that is, but what will happen is especially if you get two sets in a row that are stinkers, like as far as sales and value and so forth, like there's not good cards in this, or there's the best card in this set's $20. Okay, yeah, that sucks. Then generally speaking, 6 months with your primary, almost exclusive source of income losing you money for 6 months.
Yeah.
And that is what you use to put food on the table for yourself and your family if it's more than just you. And poof, they're gone. Because they don't have a way to sustain. What else are you going to do? You can't. Unless they're going to go and print money downstairs.
I remember we've talked about this before. We don't know how stores stay a specific item.
Yeah.
Just Magic. We don't know how they do it.
Because if they don't hit them. I guess it's less risk, right? It's less risk. And then when the sets that do hit, you can use that to base. I don't know.
You'd have to do really well and squirrel away for the sets to
squirrel away.
But who?
Because the return on those boxes, if I understand right from what you've told us before, is not that great.
No,
right?
You asked what's the most profitable and least profitable.
Yeah,
the least profitable things that I have ever sold are sealed sports card products and sealed trading card game products like Magic and Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh. The markup on those is atrocious. Because most of the time, if for example, if you pay $100 for something, whether it is from most other wholesale distribution sources, or even if you buy something from someone that sells something to your store, it's like if you pay $100 for it, there's a really good chance you're going to be able to turn that 100 into another 100 by selling it for about 200. Okay, well, with a box of Magic or Pokemon and so forth, and this is normal sets. This is not like what has happened with Lorcana recently and stuff like that. Those are anomalies. Those are not the norm. That is a once in a 10 or 15 year, 20 year span type of hit. Normally, it is if you pay $100 for something, you're selling it for $115 to $120. So your $100 that you've risked, you're hoping to turn it into a $20 bill instead of a $50 bill or a $100 bill.
So let's say someone steals one. You got to sell 5 to make up for that one.
Or if that's set, then what happens a lot in Yu-Gi-Oh is pay $65 or $70 for a box, hoping to sell it for $80 to $90, and then within 2 weeks after release, it is selling all over the place online on TCG Player and eBay and for $45 and $50 a box.
It's like 50 or 60 as well, but I know a lot of them.
That is a wash.
That theft thing.
Just taking a bath.
The theft thing you brought up, Lee, is something because I wasn't it wasn't a friendly local game store, but we were a family entertainment store, so we did laser tag and we rented video games and the kids come up. And that was one of the reasons I was so like I pointed out so much for my employees to say hi to people when they come in. Nathan, you and I have talked this enough just to let the person that walks through that door know I see you.
Yeah.
Like, I acknowledge you're here. You are not invisible to me. I see you. Not that I think you're going to steal, but just, that kind of acts as a deterrent.
Walmart greeters.
Yeah. Like, hey, we see you. We know you're here.
Yeah. So that's,
Now he's fired up.
Yep.
Most.
What's the worst thing you've had stolen from your store? What's the most money you've lost in a theft?
Okay.
It's an interesting. Well, we got
about.
about 15 minutes left, and we can do some rapid fire. Little.
I can't share the most.
Okay. Well, you can't share the amount you've ever lost due to theft.
We can't show
I'm not going
items.
to.
Okay, fair enough. Not a can.
I don't think it would be kind.
Yeah.
One of the worst was probably the one that stands out the most. I'll say that, even if it wasn't the worst, but I think it was the worst. PS3s were new. Hadn't been out for less than a year.
Expensive.
One of those, a dude grabbed one off of the top of a high shelf. He was tall enough to reach up and grab one off the top of a high shelf and bolt for the door.
Oh wow, that's just brazen. It's not even.
Yeah.
Just snatching.
Yep.
Snatch and run.
Yep. Had a check scam one time, rather very similar to that because PS3s were still the current console. A dude bought over the course of like a Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, bought 4 PlayStation 3s from us and paid with checks. And all of those, it was like $3,500 or so, all cold checks.
Did you get them back? Oh man,
Almost never.
That's something to take a wash on the store too,
Yep.
man.
Good Lord.
That's more than the pay for the week for employees.
Oh, it's not even close. Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
That was what? How many years ago? 2006. Yeah, so 17 years ago. Yeah. And that one was probably the most brutal. It wasn't it wasn't traditional theft. Like they didn't come in and weren't pocketing things.
They weren't like roguing it.
The craziest one that I can remember was we found.
And remember, Nathan's been doing this for a long time, so we don't want it to sound like Nathan gets stolen from constantly. His stores are easy targets.
We found a box for a slim PS2 shoved. It was either behind the toilet in the bathroom or in maybe in the little cabinet under the sink or something like that. Yeah. I don't even know how long later. I mean, it was like we found this and it was like I don't think this was here yesterday.
Oh wow!
So I guess they put it in their pants and took off or something. Or
we would find that. I'm sure you guys, when you worked at these places, found it. What we would find is people would get a CD case, and we had teenagers working for us. Man, we had because my boss would not hire. I mean, whatever the lowest you'd work for is what he was going to hire you for.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know. They were on their phones 90% of the time. They as long as we get them to say hi to people when they walk in the door, we were good. But they come up and get a game, and we'd hand them a game. They go back, and their stuff was in the back, where you'd sit in front of these TVs with these chairs to play games around a computer or whatever. And we'd find just the open cases laying around all everywhere because we didn't have cameras. We had a camera up on the front thing, and that was it. Yeah. And so it was real easy for someone just to walk back, pop the thing open, and go because we ran on a skeleton crew. It was nuts.
I think the weirdest one, which I've only had a small handful, but the weirdest one when I was working, I remember I had a gentleman wear sweatpants, and he came up front, and you could see he had stuffed like a handful of comic books down his pants, and you could see them like extruding from his shirt because like the sharp edges were pointing out. And I just walked up and was like, "Hey man, can you give me the comics?" And he was like, "What are you talking about? What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
And when I finally got him, he was like, "Are you going to call the cops?" I was like, "No, just please leave."
I mean, the biggest thing for comics is like $5, but
yeah. I don't know. That's rough. Let's do a happy thing. So what's the coolest thing you've ever had brought in on a trade-in?
There's been a few. Some of the coolest ones, a full run of Uncanny X-Men, a full, like every issue from one in September of 1963 to the last issue, or most recent issue at that point. It was still a series going at that time. A full run of Iron Man, and as well as a full run of Daredevil. Now, two of those three I made a purchase on. I did not make a purchase on Daredevil. Unfortunately, both as professionally and personally, was not in a position to be able to make that purchase at that time, and I am so sad.
What's the price on those? At least at the time.
The person only wanted about $400 for the lot, which I mean, at that time, it's like number one would have been like $200 or $300, and most of the other issues were going to be $1 or $2. Yeah, like,
just to fill in stuff.
It's so his price was very fair. It's just that, and it wasn't stupid. It wasn't like, oh, he's giving them away. Like that was, it wasn't a dumb thing. It's just that, money was tight and just weren't able to get him. And unfortunately, because it was just Daredevil at that time, nobody really cared that much about Daredevil, and it was like, dude, unfortunately I've got to pass. And like fast forward to now, like I've never had another opportunity to purchase a Daredevil number one.
What about the X-Men? Was the full run of X-Men?
Oh, I don't remember. It was thousands of dollars that we paid for that even back then. I mean, issue one at that time was going for about $800 in its condition, and in that same condition now, it is I think around $6,000. So,
so I got a couple more questions. Does anybody else have some questions they want to ask? Ned, stuff we want to talk about?
Yeah. What about cool stuff? Do you guys remember any cool stuff coming in to the stores?
Yeah. You guys all three worked there, were you?
Yeah. I don't really remember anything that wild.
Honestly, like I had a lot of typical stuff come in. I know I had like one that was like a Thor comic. I sent to Nathan. I had like a cornered shootout on it. I can't remember which one it was. But the coolest thing for me was somebody actually brought in a tote of vinyls, records. And there was like a picture record for like the original soundtrack for Star Wars. It was like some original AC/DC records. And then they had like a big box collection of the Beatles. It's like a bunch of really cool stuff in that.
Yeah.
And I remember the guy who came in and I sat and looked through him, and he's like, man, I just want like $200 for him. Yeah.
Here's your $200. Thanks. Yep.
I think the AC/DC record alone was like $125.
Yeah.
So here's a question about that, about what Cody just said. So if someone comes in and has something that you see, and you know, okay, that's expensive. That is a high price, and they don't know what they have.
I'll answer that one. I'll take the ball on that one.
You want to take that one?
Yeah. Well, I do want
to. Go ahead.
On the records, that's where the store had just started with the records.
Yeah.
So
I'm not saying that you did that. I'm just saying that's got to happen sometimes.
Where the store just started on records, I wasn't sure how they would do, and didn't want to go too heavy in them. So.
Yeah.
It is hard. It's hard in any capacity for if someone just flat out says, I'd like to get $500 for this. And you're like,
Sure.
you're happy with $500 and I'm happy to pay you $500.
And I'm not talking like an instance where they say, I'd like to get 500 out of it. Because obviously at a store, you're going to buy, and having sold stuff to stores, you guys are going to buy stuff at like 40 to 50% or lower of what the actual value of that is. Because you got to be able to make money on it. Sure. You got to be able to haggle on it.
Yeah.
I'm talking about like somebody comes in with something and they're like, I want to get, I'm trying to get $50 out of this. And it's like a $700 item or like $1,000 item or something.
Ka-ching.
Yeah. I don't know if I could sleep.
I'm pretty much just, okay, thank you.
Yeah? You wouldn't tell them what it was?
If they asked, absolutely. I would never lie to them.
Yeah.
But if they say, I want $50, I'd say, here's your $50.
If you're up front with them, that's...
Well, you're not being up front with them by just going, okay, I'll...
Well, if they say, I want X amount of money, then... Yeah. I mean, who are you to be like, you're an idiot?
Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like that's kind of unscrupulous.
That's why they want to get into that.
Well, I mean, stand by how you feel and how you do. I don't think it makes you a bad person because you got to make money at the end of the day, and it's up to the seller to be educated. That's my feeling. Like I'm just like I don't think if I knew how much that was and someone came to me, I think I'd probably say something like, you know what this is? Like I'd make sure they knew what they were doing, but I don't. To me, I would feel them. I guess that's a better way to put it.
The example you give is
extreme,
crazy extreme. Yes. I've never experienced that.
And I couldn't imagine that would be like
the normal would be if it's like, okay, this is something, and normally it's not even a single item. It's normally a collection.
Yeah.
Okay. And somebody comes in and says, you know what, I'm looking to get $200 for this. And I'm like, well, yeah, I can pay you that. 200's fair. I know there's money on X and Y in here. The rest of it, even if it doesn't sell, I can happily either just let it sit in my inventory for the rest of ever, and that will happen. There are comic books that when I started in 1999 at page 3 that were in our inventory that were still in our inventory when I left in 2017,
and it's probably still there.
And it's not because they're overpriced. No, even it's like these are $1. No one. It's like if no one in Pikeville wants those, and it's like then they just don't want them.
Yeah.
I mean, like an example would have been like Alpha Flight comics. I know the Alpha Flights. People are kind of starting to be like, oh, Alpha Flight might be in the MCU. Okay, yeah, but. From the time, from the last century until about 6 months ago, basically nobody cared about them or their comic books. Like, so it's, so when somebody comes in, even if it's like, well, I can pay you, it's like I can put $1 a piece on those. I don't even know if I want to pay you 10 cents a piece on those.
Yep. Now, I have had somebody come in with a collection and they're like, well, I want this for the collection. And it's like, this is what we're willing to offer for the collection. He's like, well, I don't want to do that. It's like, well, what if I just bought this one thing out of it? And usually they're like, yeah, okay, I can do that.
Yeah, it's like I won't take 200 for the collection, but I'll take 150 for the one item.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
And I do feel like, and don't get me wrong, I didn't mean to insult you if I did, but what I get is like it is up to the seller to be educated about what you're trying to sell, right? And I fully put look, if you're going to take something that is a collectible that is old and do some research, research on eBay, educate yourself about it, because some people will take you for a friggin' I don't think anybody here would lie to somebody, not say, oh, that's worthless.
No.
But some people will do that.
No, for sure.
Will absolutely tell you, hey, that is worthless. I don't think it's a bad thing if, not necessarily like an evil thing, if somebody comes in and goes, hey, I want $50 for this, and you look like, that's probably like a $250 item, and you just want $50, sure, whatever, that's what you want, go for it. I'm talking like the extremes. That's what I was getting at. I'm not getting. Okay. I'm talking like someone comes in with like first edition Shadowless Charizard, and they're like, I don't know, I found this in this collection of cards. Give me $100 for the whole thing. You're an
No.
asshole if you take $100. If you give
No.
give that person $100 for that, like you're a dickhead. I'm like you're an absolute douche.
Well, that'd be like the first, like Shantae, like a complete copy of it. If somebody just come in and set it down, it's like I don't know, like $10 for it. But
That's worth a bit more. That's what.
Sorry, man. I wouldn't feel good about it because I mean
That's what I'm saying. Like I
copy of
feel
that.
I can
complete
remember-
copy of that one's like $4,000.
Yeah,
now,
both
so.
both at the gaming company and at Page 3. The one that stands out to me the most was one time a guy that was working at the shop purchased Super Monkey Baby, the Dragon Ball Super collection.
Yeah, I just sold a whole set of Dragon Ball Super to you guys.
Bought a Super Monkey Baby and paid the dude like $10 for it.
Like in a good shape.
Yep. Because he didn't know.
Oh, I mean
He just didn't
that
know.
too. I don't think you're.
You know,
if you just didn't know.
And so I was like, please tell me you know who this person is or could recognize them if they came back in. And he was like, oh, well, yeah, it was this person. Like, he wasn't like his buddy, but he knew who the person was. And so I was like, the next time you see this person, pay them. I mean, it's been 20 years and I don't remember the amount, but I was like, pay them X extra and say, hey, I did not know that this was hundreds of dollars. I thought it was, I mean, because at that time, all the rest of them were
like $20.
Were $10-$20 even complete in box.
Yeah.
So it's like
that person actually has told me before. That's why he came to Page 3 at the time.
Yeah,
it was because they were so cool about it. They got back to him.
And we did that with
you
another.
don't want to be the store that's I got fleet. I sold this thing for $10 and I went down and saw they had it on the wall for $450.
Yeah.
Like that. That's how you get a bad reputation. As the,
I don't know how many times.
What was the item you got?
I haven't done it.
Oh.
I was like, that's just like.
Oh, you. I thought you've done that before.
No. It's like
you were so quick to say, yeah, that's what I was
I'll
doing.
give you an example.
He's not poor enough for that.
I'm not poor enough for that. Sharp television, Nintendo Sharp television.
I have no idea what that is.
Okay, it's about $1,500 at the time when I bought it. I think it's about what it was going for.
They're about.
And this lady was like, "Hey, I want to sell this," and I was like, "Well, how much are you looking to get
Yeah,
out?"
like a yard sale or something.
No, she just contacted me,
Oh, okay.
and I was like, "Well, it's worth a bit." And she's like, "Well, how much?" And so I was like, I wasn't gonna lie to her, and I was like, "It's worth probably $1,500." She's like, "Well, I'm not looking to get that much out of it." And I said, "She said, would you take 300? Would you do 300?" I was like, "Absolutely."
That is an entirely different situation than what I said, Lee. You told her.
Hey, you're the one that jumped.
What? You didn't know. That's not what you
I
said.
said if somebody comes in there and offers you something for like cheap or whatever.
You didn't tell me she also asked you how much it was worth, and you told her.
Well, that wasn't the example I was talking about. So,
But there's also, if you're a buyer, like if I go in to buy something, and someplace has it for like $10, and I know this is like a $60 thing, you know, the reverse situation, I'm probably gonna buy it for $10. It's just being in that point of power. You know what I mean? To be able like,
But see, to me, it's like I think maybe that's what Lee was getting at. Is it's, you know, if you come in and say I'll take $50 for this, and it's $300,
you know, your markup's gonna be good on it.
That's like.
turn out to be like, here's your $50.
Like,
See ya.
Yeah, again, like if it's not to say like if somebody says about what does this go for,
No, that changes
like
everything.
that is not the same
Right?
thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
But to say like, would you give me 50 for this? Yes.
I think there are genuinely people out there that will lie to people though when they say
Yeah,
that.
no,
not
that is
anybody
not-
sitting here, not anybody really
No.
I've ever interacted
There
with.
are, but
Yeah.
there's a difference between me lying to you and you coming in and saying, like Nathan said, you coming in and saying, "Will you give me this much money for it?"
Yeah,
And
oh,
I say,
110%.
"Okay,
Because on the other direction, because as a consumer, when you find a good deal,
Everybody cool with going a little bit longer today?
I
It's
don't
a
think it
little bit.
matters. We're still going. It's
It
hour
is-
30.
it is highly unusual. Like, I mean, Lee on numerous occasions over the years has come to me, and it's because I'm, you know, we're such close friends, but he has come to me and been like, "Hey, you've got this game out there for like $30, and you know that you priced 2 years ago, and it's going for like 70 now, like,
Narc.
and I want to buy it."
Well, they usually work with a price for me.
And I'm like,
Or
I'm good with 30.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I have 30 on it.
Probably bought it like it was 30.
I paid for it. I mean, and it's not to say that if he had just been like, hey, this is going for a lot more, just a heads up, like I don't want to buy it. And he's done that too. I mean, like, but this has gone up a lot since you put it out here. And that happened. That's okay. So yeah, and I'm gonna mark it up to put the current market price on it, just like I would mark it down if it had gone the other direction.
Yeah.
It's like making friends with the customers who come in, because I remember working at Page 3 whenever Sean would come in and buy out the Magic case.
Yeah.
The other Magic players would come in, sit there and go through the boxes, and they would toss cards out for us. And like, hey, you may want to put this card in the case to start refilling.
Because it's actually a good card. It's not 10 cents.
Yeah, they're like, I don't really want to buy it, but here.
That's the lovely thing about this stuff, man. That's why I love FLGS, and I keep telling people, like, support your game stores. It's having those kind of interactions. It's getting to know, almost like a Cheers type deal.
Yeah. I thought about that when you said people come in and say hi to you.
Yeah, like,
Norm.
Yeah. Like, I feel like I've built relationships with the people at our stores. You know, hell, Pat, I didn't know until 2.5 years ago. He was my officiant at my wedding. Yeah. Like, you build relationships with these people. And if it's something you want to support for your area, and you can, I see it all the time on the internet. People are like, well, I don't have any stores around. I don't have this. I bet at some point you probably did have something close by. And I bet people just didn't go. You know,
there are a lot of owners and employees at game stores like ours, and I know we're saying game stores, but there's also, comic book stores and all the other things.
We're not talking like Barnes and Noble and Walmart.
Correct. Yeah, we're talking small, like we sell,
shop
hobby shop type stuff.
Yeah,
that's selling board games and card games and toys and comics and video games, those types of things. I think I've kind of alluded to that a time or two on here. I just kind of wanted to make sure that was, now that we're almost done, that we've got that clarified.
Yeah.
But I've lost my train of thought now. Oh my goodness.
Do I need to pause or rewind?
At local shops close by that nobody went to.
Close by, thank you. Close by that nobody went to. And a lot of those same owners and employees at those stores will have the mindset of, you should have come here and supported us because we existed, so that we didn't cease to exist. And while there is you do need to support them.
Yeah.
In order for them to continue to exist, but you don't, like, I have never felt owed that people would come and support one of my stores because I existed. I hoped that they would, I always wanted to present a good product, both with how the experience was, as well as the actual items for sale and pricing and the way the store looked and was laid out, all those things to come together to say, hey, I'm going to support them because they are compelling me to want to. Yeah. Like, I actually want to go there, either because Nathan's a cool dude, or because he has a huge selection of NES games, or because he always knows how to help me find a board game that's going to make sense for my group, or all these things that somebody might come down and say. So it's like, you're not owed it. To anybody out there that's thinking about doing a store like this, or that is doing one, and you're confused about why people maybe aren't coming and wanting to support you, feeling like you're under supported, and maybe you're struggling to make ends meet, struggling to make payroll and so forth. Like, take a look at that, a long, hard look at that, and say, hey, wait a minute, am I feeling entitled to people's money and their business, or am I giving them reasons to want to come out here and say, hey, here's my money, take my money?
Yeah, so the people will vote, and they will not often be wrong.
They'll vote with their wallets in this instance. Yeah.
So how do you justify, or not justify, but how do you balance? And this is something, Lee, you and I talked about when we came up with the idea to have Nathan on for an episode. We were looking at board games on your shelf. We're looking at that versus like the price online for some of them, and some lower, some are a little bit higher, stuff like that. But when in the general market of things, you have overhead in the store. Like, you have a higher overhead than Amazon Marketplace has.
Sure.
Right. So what do you see, or just your take on that as a game store owner, trying to justify saying, hey, you're going to pay a little bit more coming here on some things, not everything, and some things you'll pay less for, but you're going to pay a little bit more on some things, but you're supporting the store versus somebody can get it from Amazon. How do you?
That's
got to be rough.
It's a balance.
Yeah.
So I hope that the hope is that in general people feel like that the things that they come and look for are are a good value in general. So I guess to say, one, we have regular sales, and most, not always not every single item in the store is always included in sales, but for example, board games I think they have been included in every single sale that we've done since we've opened.
Yeah.
And usually a modest discount is 20% off. Most of the time they are 25 or 30 or 40 or maybe even one time 50% off, which usually puts them below cost. But it's like, this is, there's that. And we're looking at, every couple of months, there's a pretty good size sale on this stuff. And then combine that with, the idea that somebody can just come in and say, not just haggling, like to say, man, what's your best price on this? But to say, hey, I see this, Amazon's running a sale on this right now for $29.99, and you've got it for MSRP of $59.99. And I look and I'm like, well, I paid $29 for it, and change. Yeah, I mean, after, if you pay with a card, I'm actually losing money, but I mean, I'm going to make this sale. Well, and I get, like, but I'm just saying, like, if somebody bought it for $30 on a price match and I had paid $29 for it, a credit or debit card processing fee is going to cost me approximately 3% plus usually 50 cents or so on a transaction. So if they pay with a credit or debit card, I actually lost money. Even though the price match was at or above my cost, but if they didn't pay me with cash, I actually lost money. But, and sometimes somebody, like, one of my other buddies a week or two ago was like, dude, on this flash sale, they've got Marvel United for $6 free shipping. Well, that's like a $30 or $40 game. My wholesale cost on that is like $20-some. $6 shipped. Well, of course they were sold out. I mean, it was like a 15-minute sale, but it was one of those deals that it's like, dude, you should eat that up. I can't even, in fact, if I was low on inventory, I would buy them myself because that is a fraction of what I can actually get them for wholesale.
Yeah.
So, I can't do that one because it's like, well, I literally just ordered this one to restock it. Like, I'm not going to take that kind of a bath on that. Just, it's like that. So those are just out of bounds, sometimes. But I'll tell people, I'm like, hey, I can't match that, but because that is a crazy sale, and I totally understand if you want to take advantage of it. In fact, you should. But if you need it today and not tomorrow or the 2 days later, however, or whatever the case is, I can get it to you for this. Even if it's just a dollar above my cost. Mm-hmm. Just so, I can remember one of the first times I did that with a person with Pandemic, probably around 2011.
Not the Pandemic.
Yeah.
Pandemic, the board game.
Around 2011 or 2012, a lady came in and showed me this. She's like, well, I see this sale, and it is like $14 with free shipping. And I was like, well, shoot, like wholesale cost was $21. And I said, this is a stocked game. Like, this is one that I actively, like, when it sells out, I will pay to have it shipped back in. So I can't price match that, but I'll do it for $22. And MSRP at the time was $39.99. So it was like, I'll do it for $22. It lets me make $1. And she was like, oh, well, yeah, that's great. I'll do that.
Yeah.
And she was happy.
Sometimes people just pay for the convenience.
And I was happy, and there we went. She could have saved $7, but I don't know if she needed it that day or not. She just said, oh, yeah, that sounds great.
What's the convenience of now? And then sometimes it's nice to be like, even if I can't get it for that, it's nice to support the local store anyway.
Because some people do understand, like, like, there's like, oh, I would not want you to take a loss on it. I don't want you to lose money on it, but this is a great deal. Like, help me help you, if you will. Like, and that lady came back and bought game after game after game for years.
Yeah.
Usually at just regular retail. Because I sold her that one game at close to what that flash sale was. So,
it's important.
There's those types of things. So,
okay, so we are right at the 1 hour 41 minute mark. I got one more question. Anybody have any little closing questions? I got one more question. I think we'll call it done. And this is perverse interest from me. I feel like I've had all the questions. You don't say any questions. You guys worked for Nathan, so you know,
After working
Yeah,
it,
I know the story. Yeah.
you know all these stories.
I've heard the song and dance.
Yeah. So Lee showed
It
us.
was part of training.
Yeah.
You asked how I've aided people. I make them sit down and listen to this story.
Of course, you heard Lee. He's a robber baron.
We've all went out to eat lunch with Nathan. We've all heard these.
I genuinely feel bad for you. I genuinely feel bad if I'm upset. I didn't mean that.
He's fuming now.
A little bit. He's
I'm
sitting
going
there
to make a
quiet.
video about it.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I have YouTube.
We'll be on his YouTube
Lee,
channel.
kill you as soon as look at you.
Your question.
Yeah. So, what is the? So when I've been selling items lately, I've tried to educate myself as much, and I still come into
Minority,
situations.
incidentally. Absolutely the minority. I cannot. I don't even
I
know
was
if I
going to
can.
ask what type of people you dislike the
I
most.
don't know if I can count on two hands, Josh, the number of people in 20, almost 30 years that have come to me in any capacity, whether it was me selling, buying off my high school buddies, or buying at Page 3, or buying as a collector, or buying as Entertainment Castle, or buying now as Gaming Company, that have come to me and actually have done research to know what the heck they have.
Well, I still come up wrong 90% of the time because Nathan comes to me with
But you've
vastly
done
lower
something.
numbers.
But you've done something. Like, you actually took time to go through and not just be like, I don't know. I mean, these are, there's 100 figures here. I figure at least ought to be, $30 a figure. I mean,
yeah.
Okay.
So that's my question. So give me an instance where, what was the most egregious instance of that you've come over of a seller overvaluing an item? Because I just think that's fun. And everybody here has worked in these stores. I want everybody's answer for what they've got. And I think this is a good, fun thing to close on as much as you can describe.
I have one ready.
Go ahead.
Go for it.
So Nathan and I were at a yard sale, and this is part of it, man. Having to deal with this sort of situation where people don't know what they have, and it goes both ways. This lady had some Nintendo tapes. She had some Nintendo tapes in a shoebox, and she said, we were like, oh, we're interested. It was just pretty common stuff. It was like, hey, Nintendo games.
But it's still cool.
Yeah. And we were like, how much you want on your games? And she said, well, I think she was asking like 15 a piece or something crazy. Like 15 a piece on these Nintendo games. And they were worth like $3 to $4
They were ones that at that time, we've had them stickered at the shop for between $1 and $3 a game in good shape.
Super cheap.
I actually priced a
She
bunch of
was like-
SNES games the other day. I was like, these are garbage.
She
This is
said,
just junk.
She said, I know what these are. These are worth.
They're old.
They're old and they're worth a lot of money. And I was like,
Just because something's old does not mean it's worth it.
yeah. She was like, I know I can get this out of these. And I said, well, how about this? We'll go load up a bunch more of these and bring them to you and sell them to you for $5 a piece. We'll bring you a whole carload if you can sell them for 15 a piece. And she was like, well, no.
Yeah.
It's like, if you know you can get 15 a piece out of them, buy them for 5 a piece, pretty good deal.
Yep.
I don't feel as
tripping
bad
out.
taking advantage of idiots like that.
So, but she obviously wasn't interested. But.
Yeah.
What
I
about you?
remember that. It was an interesting day.
Aaron's chomping at the bit over here.
Let me tell you the story of the first edition holographic Machamp.
I wasn't even considered that. But yeah, that's probably.
Gentleman came in with a handful of
So
them.
let's talk about what that is first. So what is how much is a first edition this is a first edition
Now.
holographic Machamp from the base set of Pokemon.
Now it's like $15 or $20.
Yeah, they are about $15
But
bucks.
at
Yeah.
the time,
At the time, they were like 10, 25 cents
Yes.
somewhere.
TCG market price was less than 25 cents. It was like 17 or 18 cents.
$15 is still so low compared to every other hologram
Yes,
out of that
it is.
set.
It's that common.
It
It's just-
came with that starter. Like, it was the only hologram that came with the starter.
and they also gave it away as a promo item.
So anyway,
They're a common card.
Yeah.
okay.
It's a pretty common card. Came in and swore up and down that those cards were $200 each.
He was so mad at me
Oh yeah.
because it was one of those, you were talking, Cody, about being like, well, I can give you this for this, and then this for the rest. Like, here's your good stuff, and I can pay you X.
yeah.
And so he said, Well, and I'm sorry to commandeer your story, Aaron, but daggone it.
Yeah, go
like this.
I got to sit back and listen. Nathan had to experience it.
Yeah, because you guys would get stepped out for lunch, and I was at the back register at that time. So he comes, and so I was like, well, here's, some handful of cards that I pulled out, and I was like, I can pay you
a picture of the holographic.
I can pay you X dollars for these, like, 8 or 10 cards or whatever. And he's like, well, that sounds great. And then I was like, and the rest of these, like, I'd have to be at, like, our, at bulk rate, it was a stack, maybe 50 or 100 cards. So unfortunately, bulk rate on 50 or 100 cards is not a lot of money. Even if it was a generous bulk rate of 10 cents a card, 50 cards, hey, guess what? That's $5. Yep. And he was like, oh, no, there ain't no way. You don't know what you're talking about. And he starts going through. He's like, well, look here, this is a first edition Machamp right here. And I was like, yeah, it is, sir. And then he gets pulled out all the other cards, and he was like, man, this Machamp here, it's a first edition. And I said, I understand, but this is, unfortunately, to my knowledge, at that time, and probably still, the most common Pokemon card. It has been printed. There are more copies of it in existence, to my knowledge, than any other Pokemon card in existence. I mean, when you look up common, the most common Pokemon card, like if there was an entry in a dictionary somewhere, that would be the picture there, children.
I remember looking when I was pricing mine, it was like 400, 600, 1,000 if it's in good shape, 300, 400, $15.
Yeah, one of these things is not like the others. Yeah, and the shadowless one is notwithstanding. We're talking about just the regular one.
Is it a shadowless?
So there is that one is actually super rare. Yeah,
this one was not a shadowless.
So he says, "Well, I tell you what," or no, I said, "I tell you what, I don't know how many in these boxes behind me. I will that market price on these is 17 or 18 cents or whatever." I said, I will sell you any amount that you want to buy for 15 cents a piece, below market price. And he was like, dude, you don't know what you're talking about. I'll take every one of them. After I really? Yeah, yes. And after I went through those boxes and got to like 35 and was still going, he went, dude, I believe that's going to be good. I'll just take these, and I need to go. And I was like, and he did. Now I paid him for those cards that he said he would take the money on, and then he paid me the 15 cents a piece for the all those other Machamps, and then left and made me stop because there were more. And we know because those are the ones that we started hiding on each other around the store. And to this day, even at the gaming company all these years later, these children that I don't even know if were necessarily born when this event happened are Machamping me and other people at the store with them.
And you mailed one to California.
Yeah, mailed one to a dude in California. My brother-in-law found one up in Ohio when I took a pair of shoes to him. Scott hid one in a shoe in the office like 10 years ago. Like just all kinds of nonsense. But yeah, it was, I mean, when you think about it, it's like, man, if he held on to those to now, he's made good money on them. But I mean, realistically, he took those and then probably threw them in a box and went, oh boy, I'm glad I stopped at $3 and some odd, $4 on these. I thought he was going to take every bit of money he was going to give me for them good ones.
Still to this day, I don't know if he was just so committed to his delusion.
I think so.
Or if actually believed that.
No, I think I think he thought that he was getting one over on me and that I genuinely didn't know what I was talking about, and that me showing him all of these sales and all of these listings on eBay and all these other places that was not that card, and I didn't know what I was talking about.
That kills me, man.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Who's paying for this, man? If it's worth that much, who's paying for that?
Yeah.
It's like, this game's worth $300, but I can get it on eBay for $5 right now, shipped. Well, who's going to give you $300 for that, man?
Yep.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think we're in there. Tell us where the weirdest place you found a Machamp is. You can get a hold of us at heelshavenerds@gmail.com. That is heelshavenerds, not the Heels Have Nerds. We couldn't get that one for some reason. We got heelshavenerds@gmail.com, or come join us on Facebook. We have a Facebook presence now. Just search the Heels Have Nerds on Facebook.
And you'll see our lovely faces.
Yeah. See us right there on the little heels that we commissioned from a lovely artist who also does some other things.
Well, if you couldn't get heels have nerds, you can get heels have faces.
The heels have faces. Yeah, that would make sense.
The heels have nerd faces.
To confuse them more about them.
But we'd love to
Faces have
hear.
heels.
We'd love to hear what your interaction
Nerds
is
have
with
heels.
your friendly local game stores. With what's a cool item you have in your collection you've got from someplace. What's something you've sold you feel like you've gotten reimbursed well for, or horror stories interacting with friendly local game stores.
What has your local Nathan swindled you?
Yeah,
into
what
buying?
was Nathan swindled you from? How much money does Lee owe you?
I'd like to pose a question, if I may, on your all's podcast for people to interact with on these various places. One, if I sold you your first whatever it was that started you into nerddom over these past 20 some years, let me know. Comment on what it was. I would genuinely like to say that would be really cool. I've never thought about that before today. Really, like how you talk about this cabin, this idea.
Nathan Varney.
I'd like to know what it was that maybe I sold you that catapulted that.
Check your cartridges for an N. Check your disc for an N. Nathan has a signature everywhere.
Check your underwear for Nathan. Or the day
His
of the week.
phone number is.
This is where he lives. List of his greatest fears.
That would be cool. I would love to see that. And then the other one would be if you've gone to a local shop, and even if you would not say it is your favorite one, just even if you've just gone to a local shop that you maybe just go sometimes to see what's what. But what item was the coolest thing that you ever remember seeing that you actually went and told someone else about? That you word of mouth advertising.
That's something we didn't touch on, is that these game stores can be kind of almost museum like.
Yes.
For some of these things, and we've talked about that a little bit.
Be another episode.
Yeah, and I think we can do a whole bunch of episodes on different collecting and stuff like that. But so that's going to be it for this episode. We are nearing our 2-hour mark. This is our second longest episode ever, and when we get guests on, we just like to sit and John, especially when we talk to our friends. But again, contact us. Let us know what's going on. Like and review if you don't mind. That really helps people find us. And speaking of find us, Lee, where can the good people find you?
Twitch.tv/PixelBroly or on YouTube at PixelBroly.
And Lee has all kinds of awesome YouTube things. I think you were coming up with ideas for new YouTube stuff, but we were talking.
Yep.
He's just constant.
On the grind.
You recently got
Partnered.
You got partnered.
Yep.
Oh yeah. So send Lee congratulations for getting partnered. He's been working really hard on that. Nathan, anything? Where can people find you?
At the gaming company in Coal Run, Kentucky, Pikeville. But Coal Run / Pikeville, Coal Run, the city that doesn't actually exist because no mail goes there. And we have a Facebook page, Instagram.
Post awesome stuff on there.
Yeah. So.
Yep. Thank you guys again for listening. This should be, hopefully it's around December, just before Christmas for this. Hope everybody has a happy holidays. We'll be back at the start of the new year with a new year of the Hills Have Nerds. And if you go down to Coal Run and down to the gaming company, tell them the nerds sent you.